Alright, so we have the new title update for March 16th of For Honor. We have a lot to go over, so I'm going to try to quickly go over the most important aspects about it and then give you my thoughts on what I think this means for the game and how I feel about it personally. So of course, we know that Jormungandr is getting reworked. Basically, you'll see in the background that his heavies are still changing where it displaces you pretty far. It's just that they nerf the damage to a much more balanced number, and overall, if you do get a wall splat, you can land the top heavy for around 34 damage, same as Kensei's wall splat damage or Hitakiri's charged heavy finisher. Overall, I think this is a really strong move, and it still has quite a bit of damage at the same time. The only qualms I have about it is that I wish they lowered his displacement heavy within his guard break to maybe 8 or 10, and then increased his neutral damage for his heavy attacks to 24 or 22. He can still get a 22 damage punish if he does the knee follow-up into a light that is guaranteed for 22 damage that goes into his finisher or his chain mix-up, which is still incredibly powerful. This is going to be an insane tool for 4v4, and also for duels that will absolutely destroy your opponents if they make the wrong read. This bash is no longer a backwards guard break button, it is just a forward dodge bash, just like most of the other characters, so that it makes it a little bit more unreactable for the higher levels. His chain zone attack is going to be hyper armor, has a lot of cleave, good hitboxes, and it starts instantly, and his nut slam attack is going to be 30 damage, which is still pretty insane from 38. And it might be a little bit too high, but I mean, at least it's satisfying to pull off. He does have pretty easy access to it with his chain bash, so we'll see how it plays out. His heavy finishers, oof, they displace you so far, so you're gonna have a lot of fun doing that, but you have to land that first, but just not too hard, because most people don't want to do dodge attacks anymore because they are light parries, thank god. That's basically all there is for Jormungandr. He still remains quite the same from Testing Ground. So let's go over the dodge changes. This one will be pretty quick too. Basically, everyone can delay their dodge attack a little bit more so than previously, except for some of these characters like Genju and Tiandi, Warmonger, but those doesn't really matter. This is a pretty big change. It just helps the quality of life of certain characters because some characters couldn't delay it. This change for the side dodge bashes is a little bit ridiculous in my opinion. I've played a bunch of games already with the boys, and if we take a look at Conquerors or Shinobis, maybe that might be debatable where it's a little bit fair that they would get punished after doing a side dodge bash as an option select. But when we take a look at Gladiator, that is a little bit weird because most characters could punish his sucker punch as long as you dodge. Even if you dodge really late, you could punish him with a dodge bash or a dodge attack. So removing his ability to chain after a sucker punch doesn't really make any sense because he would get hit anyways. If you were smart, you wouldn't really try to guard break Gladiator after he misses sucker punch because he has guard break vulnerabilities. It doesn't make him any stronger. It just punishes the person for trying to guard break someone who can chain, because most heavy attacks or chains in general, you can't guard break anymore because there's no guard break vulnerabilities. Lawbringer shove I didn't really have any issues with on live because I mean, once you shoved, you can just dodge attack him and punish him. So it looks like they want to weaken defense to a tremendous amount and increase offense to the highest degree. Shigoki's headbutt is also getting nerfed exactly like Gladiator's sucker punch. Again, it's the same issue where you could just dodge light him or dodge bash him and you'd be okay. And unfortunately, that's just gonna mess up with his entire kit. So don't really like this change, specifically for these characters, Shigoki and Gladiator and Lawbringer. Shinobi is a little bit different because he has a lot of versatility within his dodges, especially when it comes to maneuverability in team fights, and it can be a little bit hard to punish him if it's against a good Shinobi. So this one might be a little bit manageable, but then again, of course, the guard break vulnerability, if he backflips, he's already screwed. So I don't know how I feel about this, but overall, I think this change needs to be looked at again or just reverted. Now, defense while dodging, this is the big one. You don't really have any guards when you dodge anymore, so even normal heavy attacks will hit you and light attacks will hit you. It's crazy. Now imagine if a character has undodgeables. Zhenhu, Warlord, those guys, one of the best characters in the game now, I kid you not. Especially Zhenhu, he was already a top tier pick, but now, since you dodge, you can't reposition, you have to stay in place, or you're gonna get hit by that undodgeable. So this is crazy, makes him really strong. And if you haven't already seen, Zhenhu is basically a monster with his dodge attack spam. You can't even guard break him after blocking one of his dodge lights. Remember, these are 400 MS, and with the new changes of being able to delay your attacks, he can just, it used to be 300 I believe, and now it's 200, so you can activate it within 200. It's the same speed, it's just that he can do it much faster. So I think this needs to be adjusted for Zhenhu specifically. Just bring it back to how it was before. He's one of those characters that need a specific tweak to his kit, simply because he's practically one of the only characters that have a 400 ms dodge attack that can be pretty much used on both sides. So you have to make a read and basically guess which side it's going to come from, and it enables him to get into his unblockable light or unblockable heavy mix-up, which is still pretty powerful, especially in team fights. And I think you need to get your defense back a little bit faster. It says here that heroes regain their defense 100 ms after being able to change their stance during a dodge. So that's a huge nerf. It makes offense really strong. It makes your defense basically non-existent, which kind of solves the issue of, you know, making a character S tier. Unfortunately, we already have a bunch of S tiers already, and offense is already incredibly strong. So with that in mind, defense is basically non-existent. Whoever attacks first or is able to have good coordinated ganks will win the fight. Conqueror and Kensei, the ones with superior blocks, those have been nerfed significantly as well. So Kensei is basically trash. If you remember, his forward top superior block could get a guard break. It basically had superior block for the entire window, but now it's just, it kind of acts like a deflect where you have to do it at the right timing, otherwise you're basically screwed. It's a little bit more forgiving than a deflect, but you know, having a forward dodge superior deflect was pretty cool and unique to Kensei, and I don't think they needed to nerf that. Conquerors, it definitely needed a nerf because it was quite strong, especially if you knew how to use it and abuse it for option selects. And a quick mention to the guard swap is that Afeera's chain link timings, where if you did a light attack and you changed your guard to that direction, you weren't able to dodge the follow-up kick. Now it has been fixed, so if you change your guard to that direction of which she attacked, you are able to dodge now. So if you see the kick, you can pretty much punish her if you have a dodge attack, depending if you have an undodgeable, because she can flip after that. If you do a dodge bash, she can flip and negate your mix-up or your defensive mix-up, which is a mind game within a mind game. And of course, if you prediction dodge the kick, you will be able to guard break her. So I think that is new, but if you dodge it on reaction, if you see the orange, and you dodged a little bit late, but you're able to, you know, get away from the kick mix-up, she is able to continue her mix-up. So that is a great thing. She also can't combine her tier 1 and tier 3 anymore, thank God. There's a little bit of time for you to dodge, so if you see the, you gotta be focused, of course. If you see the the orange indicator on her tier 3, you better get ready to dodge. And of course, she can just also empty guard break you, so be careful with that. You have to pay attention. So overall, this change to the guard swap, they're gonna have to either nerf undodgeables in general, or you can't have any neutral ones like Zhenhu's or Warlords, and only keep it within his chain. But that's gonna, I mean, that's a crazy change. Otherwise, they're gonna have to revert it, which I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of either, because one, it makes offense really good. So even Nobushi, who has a slower kick, but she has the undodgeable mix-up, is powerful and externally now. That was the issue with Nobushi, and you know, characters like Blackbriar as well, who had the light into bash or light into undodgeable, Kyoshin too, but now this is gonna make them incredibly viable. Blackbriar didn't have too much of an issue with it because he already had that bulwark unblockable that was great horizontal cleave, so it wasn't that big of a deal for him. Same thing for Kyoshin, where he was pretty insane for ganking with his Kazi stance, but Nobushi was already an insane team fighter, but making this change, it just makes her top tier when it comes to team fighting, just top tier. In Dominion, there's basically no defense, especially if they're using characters with undodgeables and just the chain bash mix-up with the undodgeable, which makes offense great, like I said before, but you know, I'm not necessarily sure if it feels that great. But then again, it solves the issue of having a good offensive meta, because we wanted to break turtle meta. Even if you were fighting against, you know, good players or players that knew how to confirm attacks, you were basically dead anyways. There were some ways you could stall for a little bit and maybe even win an anti-gank, a 1v2 situation, but most of the time, you'll probably just die anyways, and this change makes you die much faster than before. You really have no defense anymore. Now, we've already basically nerfed all dodge attacks except for the ones that are feignable into light parry, so this incentivizes you to actually try to make good reads instead of just option selecting with dodge attacks 24/7. Now, this is going to affect duels a lot more so than Dominion, because in Dominion you can basically just external target swap and dodge attack away, messing up the animation so that it's a little bit harder to tell if the the person is actually targeting you or not, especially with characters that have huge hitboxes. In my opinion, I really didn't feel the need to buff the light into bash mix-up or light into undodgeable mix-up, because when used externally, you really didn't need to use that type of mix-up. People already came up with crazy shenanigans on ganking people with bashes, confirming with GBs and all that good stuff. You didn't really need to make offense that powerful. And so in a 1v1 situation, it's incredibly powerful. In 2v1s, it's even more so. You're gonna feel the pressure from characters that have good mix-up potential. Instead of taking away base defense or a foundational aspect of a defense such as dodging or keeping your guard a certain way, I honestly just think we should make the bashes slightly faster. Even Nobushi, she has such a slow chain bash. Afeera's feels quick. Blackfire's, the animation's pretty telling, but I think the more important thing is that making the bashes slightly faster so we don't have to ruin the defense of certain characters is way more beneficial than making offense just pure offense and having no ability to, basically have any defense whatsoever. Because like I said, we already nerfed dodge attack, so it's going to be a huge light parry. We've already nerfed side dodge bashes. That's going to be a guard break already, and as controversial as that is, we've already done so much for offense already. We don't need to nerf defense more. Defense is good as long as it's not too oppressive. Right now, I honestly think we're in a pretty good state when it comes to defense and offense. I think the biggest changes that I'd like for them to focus on is revamp the revenge system, because right now it feels non-existent and you just can't really do anything besides stalling for 6 seconds or so. It doesn't feel as rewarding to get it when you actually stall and make good reads. If there's any other solution that you guys can think of at the moment, right now my brain is a bit fried and just playing a little bit too much of For Honor and thinking about these crazy ass changes. Let me know what would probably fix this besides just reverting these changes overall, which is basically what I said. But if you have any other better ideas, let me know down below. And maybe Ubisoft will actually listen and do a few adjustments and suck in their pride, perhaps. The pirate skin is here, and it looks pretty shagadelic if I do say so myself. As you can see here, if you look really closely, you'll start to see a little bit of gradients or smoke that comes out, or it doesn't really come out. It just looks, it's just on her cloth, and I don't really find it that appealing. I've tried a bunch of different colors and it doesn't seem to change that much. I wish it had a little bit more customization to it, but the only reason I'm basically getting it is because I want to cosplay as a Saltspire or a Bloodborne character, maybe a hunter of sorts, and that's really the only reason that I like it. Otherwise, I much prefer the new armor sets that we've gotten for Pirate with the cape and the makeup. It looks a lot better in my opinion. But I mean, everyone has their own taste, and I've talked to a lot of people that really do like her new look, her new skin, and unfortunately one of my friends told me that she looks like a pilgrim, and I just can't get that off my head anymore. She looks more like a pilgrim who just came to America, and I don't really think of Bloodborne anymore, unfortunately, but the skin looks good. I like to have the option of becoming a hunter, but I also prefer her pirate-themed skin. But I mean, that's all up to you. What do you guys think? Are you guys going to buy this for 25k steel? I would not buy it with real money. I would just save it if you have 25,000 steel lying around somewhere. But that is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys are going to have a great time with Jormungandr's rework and a bunch of the changes in general. Honestly, this might be one of the best and one of the worst updates of For Honor. It's actually insane how divided people are and how much people hate this update while also loving it at the same time. So let's just try to enjoy ourselves and see how the meta plays out, see if we can figure out anything, and hopefully the devs will let us know what the heck is going on at the moment, because there's a lot of crazy changes that we still need to learn and adapt to. So thank you for watching. Hope to see you in the next one. The box is gonna go stream now, so catch me on Twitch. Link is in the description. Bye bye. See you later.